our top story, where the former president, Jacob Zuma's fight to avoid imprisonment being heard at the High Court in Pietermaritzburg this morning. The police have until tomorrow to arrest the former president, but Zuma wants the constitutional court order against him rescinded. Now, to remind you, he has been sentenced to 15 months in prison. The matter is being heard virtually. Let's see how this is all going to play out for a number of reasons. Our senior reporter, Pietermaritzburg, you've left the border fences of eNCA. We find you outside the court today. A number of issues to discuss. First of all, is going to be this: should Zuma lose his application, will he have to hand himself over to authorities? I suppose is the big question, isn't it, Sipa?
Indeed, and that's what matters today. Today's hearing is mainly about former President Jacob Zuma coming to the High Court of South Africa, KwaZulu-Natal Division, sitting in Pietermaritzburg, asking it to put on hold his pending arrest. Our viewers would recall that when the Constitutional Court found the former president guilty of contempt of court, it sentenced him to 15 months in prison. It did not end there. There were specific and clear timelines, and one of those was that the former president was given 5 calendar days to hand himself over to the nearest police station. Justice Sisi Khampempe saying he had a choice to go to Johannesburg or to eNCA, one of the police stations there. Ever since the judgment was handed down, the former president returned to KwaZulu-Natal and went straight home to eNCA. He has not handed himself over simply because he has decided to pursue the matter further, take his application to the very same court that found him guilty and sentenced him to say, hang on guys, please reconsider your judgment. You were too harsh on me. I don't think I deserve to be jailed. You could have approached this matter the other way. I'm the first person to be tried and convicted by the highest court in the land. You should have sent my matter down to the lower courts. We start from there gradually. I appeal all the way to yourselves as the Constitutional Court. But while he decided to put his application for that judgment to be rescinded, there was one important application that he needed to put through, and that is why we are at the Pietermaritzburg High Court today, simply because, yes, he has decided to pursue the matter further with the Constitutional Court, but he needs to put on hold his pending arrest, and for that you need a court order, or you need to interdict your pending arrest. So today, Judge Mnguni here at 11:30 will start the hearing about the former president's application. It's a very simple application, very limited. The former president wants to prevent the executive branch, which is the police minister as well as the National Police Commissioner. By the way, those two individuals were directed by the Constitutional Court that should the deadline of the former president of 5 calendar days expire and he has not handed himself over to the police minister and the National Commissioner must ensure that they look for him, they arrest him, send him to the nearest correctional facility. Now, this application seeks to prevent that today.
And let's take us to what the legal representation for the former president is saying about the issue. For us here, we're of course talking about Advocate Dali Mpofu, aren't we? What does he have to say?
Well, basically, he was unpacking how their applications are broken down. It's 2 applications. One goes to the Constitutional Court. They are asking the Constitutional Court to rescind the decision. In other words, relook, reconsider. And then they are here at the Pietermaritzburg High Court to say, while we await the outcome of that application at the Constitutional Court, please do not arrest our client. So Advocate Dali Mpofu is leading former President Jacob Zuma's legal team. He's the one who's going to be arguing here. Of course, there is an issue and a very thorny point here about the jurisdiction of the High Court, whether the High Court can actually overturn a decision of the highest court in the land. So one of the legal arguments that will be thrashed out here today will be the issue of the jurisdiction. Now, there are many opinions in that regard. We'll have to wait and see how Judge Mnguni will rule in terms of that point, because it's one of the contentious legal points and arguments to say, can a lower court overturn a decision of the highest court in the land? And former President Jacob Zuma's legal team is aware that they will have to argue that point. So for now, let's just listen to Advocate Dali Mpofu unpacking their 2 applications.
The first application was to the Constitutional Court for the rescission of the order and judgment that was given on the 29th. Now, rescission is just a legalese word. It simply means that that decision must be set aside on the basis of errors and omissions in the judgment. Okay? Now, the second application was brought to the Pietermaritzburg High Court. That application is going to be heard this Tuesday. The first application to the Constitutional Court was a normal application. The second one was an urgent application. Right? The urgent application was brought to sit down on sit on Tuesday simply because, as you know, that there were two deadlines. There's one of today, then there was the other one of 3 days thereafter for the police. And its intention was to suspend the arrest order or to interdict the Minister of Police and the National Commissioner from executing that order, pending the application in the Constitutional Court and an application to render the gap in the Criminal Procedure Act unconstitutional insofar as it fails to allow for a trial in situations such as this.
All right, and Sepa Mandla, just before I say goodbye to you, let's talk about the former president very quickly. His words are, "I'm not scared of going to jail."
He maintains that stance. He addressed his supporters, told them that he's still not scared of going to jail, but he wants justice and fairness. Listen to him.
I'm not scared of going to jail for my beliefs. It will not be for the first time. I will be a prisoner of conscience. I have already spent more than 10 years in Robben Island under very difficult and cruel conditions. Even then, I was a prisoner of my conscience and beliefs. However, I have a duty and obligation to ensure that the dignity and respect for our judiciary is not compromised.
All right, Siphamandla Goga outside the Pietermaritzburg High Court. Back to you again later in the morning.